In the quiet, overgrown corners of a suburban Tokyo garden, there exists a world that operates on a scale entirely different from our own. A world where a single raindrop is a heavy burden and a common pin is a legendary sword. Released in 2010 by the prestigious Studio Ghibli, Arrietty, known in Japan as Karigarashi no Arrietty, marked a significant turning point for the studio as it saw the directorial debut of Hiromasa Yonebayashi. This film is not merely an adaptation of Mary Norton's classic novel The Borrowers. Rather, it is a profound reimagining that breathes life into the concept of coexistence between the massive and the minuscule. To understand Arrietty is to look past the surface of a simple children's story and recognize it as a cinematic meditation on survival, the transience of life, and the delicate threads of empathy that connect disparate souls. The narrative unfolds through the eyes of two protagonists who occupy the same physical space but inhabit entirely different realities. On one side, we have Sho, a young boy with a failing heart who has come to his mother's childhood home to rest before a risky surgery. He is a figure of stillness, draped in the melancholic realization of his own mortality. On the other side is Arrietty, a spirited 14-year-old girl who belongs to a race of tiny people known as borrowers. These small beings survive by borrowing tiny amounts of items from beings, their term for humans, taking only what will not be missed, such as a single sugar cube or a sheet of tissue. Arrietty's world is one of constant motion, physical peril, and the relentless drive to survive against the odds of a world built for giants. The brilliance of Yonebayashi's direction is most evident in the way the film manipulates perspective to create a sense of overwhelming scale. When Arrietty and her father, Pod, embark on her first borrowing mission into the human house, the film shifts from a whimsical fantasy into something akin to a high-stakes heist or a survival thriller. The kitchen, a mundane space for us, becomes a cavernous, dangerous landscape of cold steel and treacherous heights. The sound design plays a crucial role here, as the mundane hum of a refrigerator or the ticking of a clock is amplified into a rhythmic, industrial roar that underscores the vulnerability of the tiny protagonists. Every movement is fraught with tension, and the simple act of retrieving a sugar cube becomes a feat of Olympic proportions, reminding the viewer that for the borrowers, life is a perpetual gamble. At the heart of the film is the blossoming, forbidden connection between Arrietty and Sho. Their relationship begins with a mistake. Arrietty is seen by Sho during a mission, and evolves through a series of quiet, poignant exchanges. Sho, who feels his life is slipping away, initially projects his cynicism onto Arrietty, suggesting that her kind is destined for extinction just as he might be. It is a harsh, almost cruel moment of realism that sets this film apart from more light-hearted animated fare. However, Arrietty's fierce defiance and her refusal to accept a doomed fate spark something within Sho. Their bond is not one of traditional friendship but of mutual recognition. They are both endangered in their own ways, finding a brief moment of solace in the knowledge that they are not alone in their struggle. The visual artistry of Studio Ghibli is perhaps at its peak in Arrietty, particularly in the depiction of the borrower's home. Their living space is a masterclass in creative recycling, where postage stamps serve as wall art, bay leaves function as rugs, and flowers are used to create a lush, indoor jungle. This aesthetic choice emphasizes the resourcefulness and dignity of the borrowers, portraying them not as pests or thieves but as artisans of survival. The contrast between the vibrant, cluttered warmth of Arrietty's home and the cold, sterile, and largely empty human house reflects the emotional states of the characters. Sho's world is vast but lonely, while Arrietty's world is cramped but overflowing with life and purpose. Furthermore, the film explores the theme of human curiosity and its potential for destruction through the character of Hara, the housekeeper. Unlike the typical villains of action cinema, Hara is motivated by a misguided sense of discovery and a desire to prove the existence of the little people. Her intrusion into the borrowers' lives serves as a reminder of how easily the powerful can crush the small, often without even intending to be malicious. The tension escalates as Hara's meddling forces Arrietty's family to make the heartbreaking decision to leave their home and seek a new life elsewhere. This sense of displacement mirrors the real-world experiences of those forced to move due to environmental or social pressures, adding a layer of contemporary relevance to the story. The climax of the film is not a grand battle but a series of small, significant actions. When Arrietty's mother, Hamali, is captured by Hara, It is Sho who helps Arrietty rescue her, bridging the gap between their worlds through a selfless act of kindness. This cooperation is the emotional soul of the movie, suggesting that while the two species may never truly live together, they can still help one another. The final farewell between Arrietty and Sho at the garden fence is a masterpiece of understated emotion. There are no grand promises, only a simple exchange of gifts, a sugar cube from Sho and a hairclip from Arrietty, symbols of the indelible mark they have left on each other's lives. The music, composed and performed by French harper Cécile Corbel, adds a unique, Celtic-inspired atmosphere that distinguishes Arrietty from other Ghibli soundtracks. The delicate plucking of the harp and Corbel's ethereal vocals capture the bittersweet essence of the film, the beauty of the hidden world and the sadness of its inevitable change. The music follows the characters as Arrietty's family sets off into the unknown, floating down a stream in a teapot, searching for a new sanctuary. It is an ending that is both hopeful and melancholic, emphasizing that life is a journey of constant movement and adaptation. In conclusion, Arrietty is a cinematic triumph that uses its tiny protagonists to ask big questions about what it means to live. It challenges the viewer to look more closely at the world around them, to consider the impact of their presence on the hidden lives that might exist in the shadows of their own. Through its breathtaking animation, evocative soundscapes, and deeply human characters, the film asserts that no matter how small or fragile a life may seem, it possesses an inherent dignity and a fierce will to endure. Arrietty is a story of shadows and light, of the giant hearts that beat within small bodies, and of the fleeting moments of connection that can sustain us through our darkest hours. It remains a shining example of how animation can transcend its medium to touch the very core of the human experience, leaving the audience with a renewed sense of wonder for the world beneath their feet.